Welcome to the Lovecars on the Grid podcast, your global motorsport roundup with me, Tiffany Dell, and Paul Woodman. On the grid today, the best motorsport entertainment was actually wasn't around the world last week. It was right here at home, because the British Superbikes and the British touring cars, both up in Scotland, produced some absolutely fantastic entertainment over the weekend. Around the world, we'll go and check out Portugal, where someone won 3 more Superbike races. And also we'll talk about a very dull NASCAR race that exploded into huge controversy on the very last lap. So that was something to talk about for a while, I think. But before we go around the world and back to Britain to look at, flipping hell, the trophies there. Yeah, I haven't introduced you yet. Apparently, there was some epic rallying going on in Iceland, which our on-the-spot reporter, fresh from the cockpit, let's see it once again, with a podium placed. What was it? Is that one of those games you play where you drop the coins in the top? Show us the trophy again. What's that game? Where you drop the red or white things.
Yeah, it's a beautiful trophy, fabricated in-house. Yeah, very nice trophy.
So what have you been doing, Paul? I heard you were going over. You were rallying Land Rovers, which don't seem like very rally sort of machines as far as I'm concerned.
What is a standard Defender, road Defender with a roll cage, slightly upgraded pads that they take off Range Rover Sport, same gearbox, same engine, 2-litre turbo engine. So, and the abuse that these cars get in the nicest possible way, the terrain you're going over. This one happens to be in Iceland, but they go to Morocco, they go to lots in the UK.
This is Bowler that created the Bowler range. Bowler are famous because they've done Paris Dakars and stuff, haven't they? The Bowler. So you can buy one of these, a road going Bowler, can you?
Well, yeah, it's called a Defender, really. The Bowler name is still there, and the Bowler is the association. But Land Rover, JLR bought Bowler in 2019. So Bowler began in 1985. And the founder, he died, I don't know how long ago, not that long ago. But so JLR have now put a lot more emphasis into it, and they're doing their own Defender series, which is what this is part of. And you can be a novice or you could be a bit of a pro.
And they run all the cars. So can you buy one?
Yeah, you can buy one. So you can buy a Defender from them, and then join this series. So and then they manage the whole series for you. You've got options where you want to go and how many races you want to do. But it's very well run, as you can imagine, a JLR thing. The engineers.
How many rounds a year?
I was hoping you weren't going to ask me that. I don't know. There's quite a lot. I think there's up to about 9, but they do some speciality rounds as well. They're just looking at doing a Lapland one and Finland one, which would be good on the snow. They're doing Morocco in 4 weeks, Iceland now, of course, Scotland, Yorkshire in a couple of weeks. So there's plenty going on. And
so this was 3 days. 3 days of rallying you did in Iceland. Or was it 2 days? A 4-day event.
Yeah, over 500 kilometers. So nearly 550 kilometers. So it wasn't for the faint-hearted. I think I did as much racing in the last 4 days as a lot of the guys do all year, because some just pick and choose which ones they want to do. But there was 11 of us in total. Oh my goodness, there's some fast people. Everybody's sort of got their own pace. You know what it's like with a lot of club racing. You sort of find your pocket of pace. But at the top, there's some fast people. There's a GT3 winner there. He used to do a lot of GT3 racing. There's a couple of brothers, the Beecroft brothers, who are just rapid as well.
Who sat beside you? What idiot volunteered to sit beside you? Because I wouldn't have done it. Who did you get? Who was it then?
I had the nicest man. He's an ex-driver and he's a current co-driver. Chris Hammond, his name was, and brilliant. And he just really knew his stuff. We just reined it in. We made the decision early. We're not going to be the fastest on pace, so let's just go for the long run here.
So was it pace nut stuff? Was it left over pressed easy?
Yeah, it wasn't.
So what system do you have? Do you have a 9 that's tightest and a 1 that's straight ahead, or the other way around? No, what system was your pace notes?
No, our pace notes weren't that. It wasn't like proper full-on pace notes because it was such a long rally. It's more like a rally raid than a proper rally stage. So some of the stages were 70 or 80 kilometers. So they're a long way. So it was just, straight for 7 kilometers and go by eye, which is quite hard. But it's just epic. The scenery. You at one stage, Chris said to me, "That glacier on the right, wow, that we've been following is beautiful." I said, "What glacier?" Because your eyes are on stalks. You're looking for boulders.
Did you drive on any ice in Iceland? Then, or was all the ice not on the track?
No, sadly, it seems to be melting quite a lot. But driving around in all these Land Rovers around the countryside. No, we didn't drive on ice. We drove on...
Boulders were the most dangerous thing, were they? To get punctures and stuff.
Yeah, there's a lovely guy. Well, say lovely guy, an absolute nutcase of a guy called John Marshall. You know, when you go up to Knockhill and you see the sponsors up there, you've seen it many times before. That's him basically, and he's like Rabsy. He's a posh Rabsy Nesbitt. And he was so comical. He's got a lot of rallying experience, and but I think he ended up having about 4 or 5 punctures. So because he wasn't alone. In fairness, there was several guys that had many punches, and we got one, but we got it just coming out of stage, so it didn't lose us any time. So we're lucky. It's normally about 6 or 7 minutes per puncture. So
I was going to say, did you practice leaping out and replacing the wheels?
No, and I had a white race suit on as well. So thank goodness it wasn't the right choice for a rally. But I got a bit. So
did you ever fall off? I mean, could you spin these things? Are they spinnable? These 4-wheel drive, or they sort of just broadside and come to a halt?
No, very much so. No, very much. Very, very tail happy, which is quite nice, but not nice.
Yeah.
Because the thing is that the tracks, you got all these lava rocks. So 80% of Iceland is made of lava. So you've got all these lava rocks, and they are so sharp. So you just don't want to hit any of them. And when you get a bit of oppo, it looks great and it feels great coming out of a corner on a bit of loose sand, perhaps, or gravel, and you get a bit of an oppo for the cameras. And then the last thing you want to do is clip a wheel. And Chris was very good at that. He just said, "Look, you know, let's stop the sort of oppo coming out, and let's keep it straight."
He just wanted to slow you down because he was terrified. Basically, this lunatic that's never rallied before, sitting beside him, whirling oversteers the corners like he's on telly. He was just coming. So, but what lines the track then? I mean, is it an obvious route, or is it you've got to go through flag posts? You're out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, they marked it incredibly well. It's run by the local club, Iceland Hill Rally, run by the local club. A guy called Tryggvi and Ian. He's a British guy. But yeah, they ran it incredibly well. They're just so much passion, so much energy goes into these things. You don't realise. Well, we do, but a lot of people don't. Yeah, they're up at 1 o'clock in the morning driving the course before and putting all the posts and stuff out. Just incredible.
And do you have sort of mud and rivers to cross, sort of terrain-wise? There's a lot of different terrain.
A very good question, because it changed so quickly as well. We had everything. We had rivers. We had 1.5 kilometer river crossing at one stage. We had to cancel one, sadly, because it was too high. Not for us, but because there were Can-Ams going out as well, and Polarises. But yes, there's
Can-Ams and just to help our audience, Can-Ams, they're not Can-Ams cars like me in the 1960s and Bruce McLaren. They're these little buggies that they're made by Can-Ams, the company that make them up. There's a one class. We see them on the Paris-Dakar. They're little bugs. Well, exactly. You've got no windows and windscreen in some of those, have you? So you definitely don't want to go through rivers.
Well, we did, and they got wet. A lot of the guys got very wet. But they wear suitable clothing, so they wear typically waterproof clothing. So you don't think you had to wear a race suit in the Can-Ams. Maybe you had to do it underneath. But so lava fields, so black sand, bogs, gravel, lots of gravel, and water as well. So it was incredible. It had everything, but it changed so quickly. So 1 minute you think, wow, got some good grip here, and moving around. Then next minute, the next corner you go into is no grip. You've got to do so much by eye. Lots of blind crests. So they had
a huge variety. Nighttime stuff, or was it all in the daylight?
No nighttime. It's getting dark at sort of 11:30 at night still here. So
of course, they don't have any dark, do they? Up there in the summer.
In fact, we arrived at 11:30. Yeah, it was an amazing experience. Can't thank the Defender team enough for the opportunity. We filmed it all for Lovecars on the Road for season 3, so that's going to be exciting. Wonderful. We'll put something on YouTube as well, because it was that good. We can't just wait until that's out.
Did you dare ask how much it costs if you're a privateer wanting to do the Iceland Rally that you were treated to? Any idea what the budget is then to go do one round somewhere?
It depends where the round is. If you want to go to the UK, it's all relative. But if you want to go to Morocco, it's probably going to cost you about 40 grand. But that's sorry. If you want to go into the sands, I'll get it out of it. If you wanted to go in the snow, I'm in Reykjavik Airport, just trying to find a quiet spot, and I think I found the most busiest spot ever. People are sort of walking by, wondering what I'm doing. But so the snow, for example, if that goes ahead, maybe that'd be sort of 30-40 grand. But that's everything, man. That's 10 days.
Fully
that's
run,
10...
co-driver, for amazing. So now forget these Caterham people. You're now a rally bowler, Land Rover Defender man, are you now? You've got new mates now. Scrap them Caterham mates.
I just think the fact that we have the opportunity to try lots of different racing like this, and you've driven rally cars before, but it is completely different. I got lucky getting P3 because there's some, like I said, there's some people there were just so fast, it absolutely blew me away. But the long game really played off, and that was having Chris next to me.
You're worried at the end of day 2 that you might not make you. You had a mechanical problem, did you, on day 2?
Yeah, end of day 3 actually that was. So because they're standard road cars, we hit a big boulder because there's one part where you're doing a sort of an 8K straight, but you're over whoops and you're over bumps, and you just and it sounds easy, guys, but you're on gravel, so you've got hardly any grip anyway, and you've got to keep it pinned. So top speed's about 140 kilometers an hour because they're limited, which is about 90 miles an hour. Quick enough. But it doesn't sound quick, but you're bouncing up and down. So you haven't always got control. You're on gravel anyway. So, and if you see a boulder, they come up very, very quickly because they're hidden over crests and stuff. You can't swerve because you'll crash. You'll flip it. So sometimes you've got to take your medicine. We took our medicine. We hit a massive one. And because it's a road car, it then set the car into, this is only 2K into a sort of 14K stage. Thank you. And because it's a road car, the computer thought, oh, we got a problem here. So it cut off a cylinder, took it down to 3 cylinders, put it into limp mode. And we didn't want to take the chance because we also heard a knocking in the back. We thought, no, it's a prop shaft gone or something. So we just limped back at sort of 40 kilometers an hour the whole way. Everybody going past us. Bloody John even had a puncture and he went past us. I never heard the end of that, I can tell you. But we got back, and the guys spent hours and hours, and not guys and girls, people together spent hours and hours and hours working on it and getting it done. So, and we got back out, but we didn't know whether it was going to last. The knocking was the one we couldn't understand what it was. It sounded just like a prop shaft, but actually it was the lead weights sometimes come loose on the wheels to balance the wheels.
Balance wheels.
And it was something as simple as that, which they knew, but we didn't know that, of course. So
well, I'm looking forward to seeing the film on Amazon Prime. So that's great news. So
and it will be something
to be remembered for a long time.
And huge thanks to everybody who was there, because good, really good guys as well. Not just the customers, the competitors that got the Wonga to do it, but the guys that allowing them to do it, because they worked very hard. And the film crew as well. It wasn't our film crew. It was a couple of different film crews, the local ones and Kingdom Creative, and they were epic as well. So big thanks to them.
Great. Well, I'm glad you survived. You got a podium for Lovecars. There we go.
Do you know what? Let me tell you, it was the hardest, easiest hardest podium I've ever had, because it was brutally hard. You never know what's going to happen, especially at the end on the last day when we didn't know whether we're going to make it or not, whether it's going to go into limp mode or not. But you've never, I've never.
How far was your lead ahead of fourth? Did you have a reasonable cushion?
I had a reasonable cushion going into the last 2 stages, so we took it easy. But again, you never know what's going to happen if it goes into limp home
again, and you would have lost it. While you're away, the Formula One world continued its way, even though there's no racing. It's bizarre because on Lovecars, on the Grid podcast here, 2 weeks ago, we all said, oh, flipping hell, they'll have to sack Perez. There's no way Perez can be. And a day later, of course, they announced, Perez is staying. Oh, Lovecars got it wrong. Last week, I brought up the fact, it's weird we haven't heard about that appeal the young ladies brought out. We haven't heard anything. And lo and behold, as soon as we've done our podcast, the appeal has been sent back. So, it's the Red Bull internal appeal, which for the second time we've hired an independent judge, and they found nothing, and so they rejected the appeal. And that would appear to be that. Although I've got some remember that she appealed to the FIA or something else, or Formula. I don't know whether there's anything more to come, but at the moment the appeal has been rejected again, and all is blissfully happy inside Red Bull. Well,
but that's inside
maybe.
Red Bull, so I wonder if it goes further, because she's going to get some lawyers that are going to say, "We'll take this, no win, no fee.
Know.
Come on, let's do this." So I don't think that's the end. I don't think that's the last we're going to hear of that.
No, maybe not. Meanwhile, the Andretti and laws. It's more about lawyers in Formula One these days, because the Andretti team have got the US Department of Justice now looking into Liberty's rejection of their wish to join Formula One. It's some sort of antitrust law. We've only the American law, so it's not a global law. But anyway, the US Department of Justice is investigating the legality of their rejection, which should go on for another, keep the solicitors happy again. The other one was Stefan Domenicali, the Formula One CEO, who's been having an interview and talking about how he wants to make Formula One more exciting. And a couple of things. Well, one thing I agreed with him, one I didn't. He wants more sprints, and a lot of the I'm a purist of purists, but I think I've enjoyed the sprints, and I've enjoyed it a lot for the format of the weekend, which I agree with. He points out that, of course, you've got FP1, FP2, FP3 teams going round and round. Half the time, he points out now they're doing their simulators back home for 3 weeks before they go to every track. They've got professional drivers doing simulation, and so there really is nothing to the purist or anybody for the FP1, 2, 3. So he points out if you have the sprints, you've got a qualifying on the Friday for the sprints, you've got the sprint and the qualifying for Formula One on the Saturday, and then you've got a race on the Sunday. And I'm actually a fan of them. I mean, I don't think it'll happen like MotoGP, where there's one at every race, because it's a bit simpler to run motorbikes for an extra race. But so I was all for him. So I'm supporting his more sprints, please. Are you a sprint fan?
I'm on the fence, really. I mean, if they're exciting, then great. But I don't think it's a bad format that we've currently got. No. But it's good for the fans, because if you're going there in person, you're going to get something on the Saturday. And it has
a knock-on effect. There's a bit of a knock-on effect, because the teams only have FP1. And if that rains or something, like I think it did recently, didn't it? They've got no data for the race. It makes the race a bit more of a, teams having to adapt on the move. So not only is it more exciting day by day, it also takes away that sort of element of eventuality when everyone's been round and round the track.
Where did that happen? That was Spa, wasn't it? Wasn't that Spa recently?
Yeah, there was one where they hardly got any FP3 or anything. The other bit of the news which I loved, out of the blue, Rwanda have approached Liberty to run a Grand Prix in Rwanda.
You know what they're doing?
Never
to me.
I'm about to say you beat me to my punchline. That was my punchline.
700 million, wasn't it? 700 million.
I was going to say that.
Six people there.
Looks like our taxpayers' money is going to maybe be put to good use by building a Grand Prix track. Anyway, back to racing, back to Britain, and especially back to Thruxton. Thruxton produced the most stunning weekend. And if you're looking for entertaining motorsport, there was nothing I've seen for a year that could quite compete with being in the Thruxton Grandstand for 2 days.
I saw it on Stuart.
It was just
Higgy's
amazing.
Twitter.
Yeah, I mean, they had the Saturday race, got everyone's appetite, because it was all over YouTube, because someone posted on Twitter and YouTube the last lap of the first race. Apparently, the reason why it was so exciting, apparently, Thruxton's always abrasive with tyres, and it was hot, and so everyone was a bit sort of tyre saving, for most of the race. So I ended up with 8 of them on the last lap, just hell for the racing, 5 wide, 3 wide.
Yeah.
They came into the chicane. They lost one under braking on the last lap of the chicane. Was Andrew Irwin on his Ducati went down. So you had this shot of the other 7 surviving the chicane, and this Ducati sparring through the air. And amazingly, unfortunately, Irwin was fine. He battered and bruised. The bike wasn't much better, but he was very bruised. It actually began a whole weekend of this losing control under braking into the Thruxton chicane, which doesn't happen. I mean, it happens occasionally each year, but this year it seemed to be like, what are the birds that follow each other? I've forgotten, off the end of the cliff. It was like those.
Lemmings.
The lemmings, yeah. They were like, every race seemed to have 2 or 3 bikes going. And this amazing, Rectocell or something, Rectocell, these huge sponge bags that they have to add for the bike. So Thruxton we import them all and line all the barriers with them. Because these bikes are going in almost unabated, 100 miles an hour. It's this stuff that stops them, and the riders follow them in. And there were no, touch wood, serious injuries, lots of batters and bruising. But so this battle of the line, I think it was Kyle Ride won that one from Ryan Vickers, and O'Halloran came third. It didn't really matter. It was winning, to be honest, because it was just racing. And the weekend really was for Ryan Vickers. He won the next 2 races. He's the kid on the move now. He's won He's won 5 of the last 6 races on his Yamaha. He's still down in 5th of the points, but with quite a few rounds still to go. Tommy Bridewell's still out front. Yeah, he's got the form. He's never had someone, and I think he didn't win anything last year. He's sort of suddenly hit a patch.
What sort of age guy is he?
I think he's early 20s. He's quite young. Yeah. Who was it? Matt Cook will have a second and a Yamaha. Danny Kent had a third and Yamaha. Danny Kent was second in the last race. And there was one good, so again, great stories, which you always love. Billy McConnell, this huge Aussie. He came over. I've sort of followed him ever since he came over in, 2005. He did this Virgin Mobile Cup, and they're all on little small Moto3 style, I don't know what bike it was, Yamahas, I think. And it was televised, so you got to know all the characters and all that. They're all kids who all tried to make a name for themselves. And Billy won it in 2005, and then he got a ride with Virgin. But, for the last, almost 20 years ago, he did get up to Superbikes briefly for a couple of seasons, but not with the top team. He's been up and down. He's been dropped by people, and then he's been picked up by this businessman, who likes bike racing. And they ran him in Supersports last year. I'm not sure where he came in the championship, but he's now got back into Superbikes. And he had this podium, 3rd place in the last race, and the smiles and beams. And that's what I love, motorbikes especially. Everyone's smiling, and Billy McConnell's come 3rd. But every race was like that. I love these. I think they're BMWs. They have the horizontal handlebars and no fairing, and they're going around the corners. These great big handlebars up. So they have so much variety. I didn't see any sidecars on the telly. I don't know if they had sidecars because again, maybe they're a bit epic. So yeah, just fantastic entertainment, and everyone loves Thruxton. All the riders. Well, this is the one. Ryan Vickers, when he was interviewed at the end, this is the one to really win. This is the hardest race to win at. Yeah.
Okay. Well, there's not many overtaking points, and for those of you who don't know, Thruxton's the fastest average speed racetrack in the UK.
They were overtaking everywhere. There was no. Well,
I saw that. I did see
diving up the inside. It was just tremendous entertainment. The British touring cars, they were up in Scotland and Knockhill. They were not as entertaining as Superbikes by a long mark, but we got this new format, as it were, for BTCC that's now evolving. So we got this increased hybrid, where the hybrid's now 60 horsepower instead of 3rd. And you've now got these different positions of the championship. You get more hybrid per lap in qualifying and more hybrid laps in the race. We've also got this new tyre rule where they have to run the soft tyre and the hard tyre. And if you use the soft tyre in race 1, you have to run the hard tyre in race 2. So these 2 improvements have really made it back to the old unpredictable days of BTCC when they were throwing lumps of lead in your boot every time you did a good race. So it's now, we talked about the big 4 in the championship, but it's now almost become 5 because Dan Camish has slowly moved up, Ash Sutton's teammate, into 4th place because Turkington's had a few bad runs. So Turkington, because he's had a few bad runs, had more hybrid for qualifying. So he qualified on pole position and won the first race. It's a bit like, who's got the most hybrid gets on pole for race 1. Because the other championship, Tom Ingram, championship leader, qualified 15th. Jake Hill was 7th. Ash Sutton was 12th. Dan Camish 8th. So that's what happened when we used to have the more weight for qualifying. We used to have this same pattern, as it were, for touring cars, which made it so exciting. So this is making it more exciting. But there's now the tradition now. So the second race will be won by the leading car on the soft tyre. So the guys that all finish 7th, 8th, and 9th in race 1, they start 7th, 8th, and 9th on the grid. You don't get any grid positions, but they all storm to the front. So race 2 was won by Jake Hill because Jake was the sort of leading runner on the soft tyre. So I've just realised he must have run the hard tyre in race 1, which I didn't realise because he qualified 7th. Yeah, he must have run the harder tyre. That was good gamble strategy. And then, of course, the last race
because Knockhill is hard to overtake on, especially in a car.
Yeah, that is hard to overtake. And then, of course, round 3. So we've got 3 patterns. So round 3 is then who's lucky enough to get the ball picked out of the pot. And it was Rob Huff, who finished 12th, got pole position for race 3. Then almost inevitably, it's the person that gets the ball drawn out that tends to win race 3, which Huff did. But it was a tremendous race. He held off. Tom Ingram had a terrible weekend because he broke his car. He qualified 15th. He broke his suspension, I think, by hitting a huge new curb on the apex.
Big sausage curb,
big sausage curb. So he was last in race 1, so he had to start 20th on the grid for race 2. Got up to 10th in race 2. Therefore, he started 3rd in the reverse grid race, and just hassled Huff all the way. But Huffy doesn't give up a place easily, and Huffy had a bit more of the hybrid, I think, than Ingram. It was a great race, tense, but nothing really happening. So it's a bit predictable in a funny sort of way, but predictable in an unpredictable manner. So we're back to the good old days of BTCC. No idea who's going to win each weekend.
So I said about my crazy Scottish friend, and I said that he sponsors Knockhill, but I didn't tell you the name. You know now that I told you, Beatson's building supplies. You would now that I've told you, you'll see it. You'll
only if I went there.
Yeah, he should sponsor us, not them anyway.
The Builders sponsor a lot of bikes. Builders are very good sponsors of motorsport.
He's a good lad.
Yeah, I think
there's a story behind it that I'll tell you over a beer that I can't really repeat. But what a big really, really a lot of respect for this guy, and supporting local businesses and Knockhill. It's the only racetrack in Scotland, so it'd be a travesty if it wasn't there.
Anyway, so leaving Scotland, going back around the world on our weekly chase to where's exciting. Down to
Richmond?
Portugal for the amazing.
Oh, okay.
No, not there. Richmond was the last one. I got to NASCAR last. World Superbikes, top rank Razgatlioglu broke the record for consecutive wins when he went past them. They were tied. Jonathan Ray and Alvaro Bautista, the 2 previous champions, of course, already. They had the most consecutive wins. I think it's about 14. But Razgat's got about 16 now. He's now won 4 triples on a row. So he swept.
Wow.
So that's 12. Swept, as the Americans have to say.
4 triples.
4 threes of 12. I'm not sure what the record was, but maybe it's 12 or 13. He might have won the last race when he didn't get the triple, but I'm not researched that. So, so Bautista had a 2nd place, Bulega the 2nd. The Ducatis were on his tail in all 3 races, but nobody could really get near him. Alex Lowe's best Brit was Alex Lowe's, had 2 3rd places on his Kawasaki. But then finally we go to Richmond in the USA for the dullest NASCAR race in the world.
I only saw the ending, so I'll let you come on to that in a moment.
So the previous race held in the spring there was bad. And funny enough, it used to be well known. It's quite a good racy track where there used to be a lot of action. I think they've resurfaced it maybe or maybe not, but they're blaming the new gen, which we've had now for 2 years. The next gen cars just don't suit. They wear their tyres out too quickly. So it's a real tyre strategy, a bit like Formula One, backing off, save your tyres a bit, But because of that, they introduced a new rule for the first time of an option tyre. So everyone's going option tyre way now, but it's Formula One, BTCC, IndyCar, of course, always has the red tyre and the black tyre. They've had that for years. So now NASCAR brought in a red tyre, 2 sets you could have each. And bearing in mind, they go through a lot of tyres in NASCAR. I think this race they'd go through about 8 or 9 sets. So for 2 of those runs, you could use this faster tyre. But of course, they all kept a set for the end in case there was a last-minute panic, which it was worth setting a tyre for. So for 398 of the 400 laps, nothing happened. And there were some people moving up. But gradually, Austin Dillon, who hasn't won for a couple of years, and his Richard Childress team with Chevrolets haven't won for a couple of years, and they're all down. But they just had the car for Richmond. And I don't know when he used his red tyre or his black tyre, but he ended up out front. And there hadn't been much overtaking. Things were going on. I don't think it was a yellow at all, unless I fell asleep at any stage, but I'm pretty sure there was no yellows, apart from the end of each stage. Stage 1, yellow restart. Stage 2, yellow restart. Stage 3, and Austin Dillon's done his best, kept his tyres. He's cruising to his win. Now, of course, there's only 3 rounds after this, 4 rounds to go before the playoffs, where you have to qualify. Yeah. Obviously, you win a race, you're through. Only 16 go through. There's already 12 winners. There's only 4 places on points. And Austin Dillon was way out points. There's no way he was going to qualify for the playoffs on points alone. So a win would have got. So it was now not just a first win for 2 years. This is the first win, a win to get you into the playoffs. So you're always dreading this last-minute yellow. And there he was, crew. He just started his 398th lap. No, 399th lap. And right in front of him. So he's thinking, just don't be yellow. All the drivers were in this position. Oh, just no yellow. No, the whole team was saying, we won this race, no yellow. Right in front of Ricky Stenhouse. And nobody interviewed Ricky Stenhouse. And for some reason, Ricky Stenhouse was the last car on the lead lap. So he is about to get lapped. So now in the middle of a race, that's pretty important because you don't want to go a lap down. So if you're the last car of the lead, you do battle with the leader not to be overtaken and put a lap down.
In case there is the yellow.
But yeah, but then he was looking inside a guy that was a lap behind him. So he wasn't trying to overtake someone to be the last person on the lead lap or anything. He was on the lead lap. But I don't know, he was looking at his mirror and worrying about the fact he'd lead right behind, right in front of the lead. Ricky looked the inside of, who was it? Ryan Preece, who was a lap behind him. And you could see when he braked, he got a bit tail-endy and he got a bit out of control and he went up the hill a bit and Pierce came down the hill a bit and boom, he knocks him into the wall right in front of poor old Dylan. So they must have thought, unbelievable, all the team was disastrous. So we're now on to this new, the old green, white, yellow, the 2 laps. They all go to the pits. They all put brand new red tyres on the soft tyres. And out there, all go for the restart. And Austin, because again, your team mechanics are so important with these, pit starts changing 4 tyres. So they won the race off pit road. So his crew were all high-fiving each other. They got Dylan back out in the lead for the restart. Then they're all rumbling around. And this is when NASCAR becomes the most exciting moment. But it's just that you have to wait 398 laps. Anyway, Dylan didn't make the best restart. He had Joey Logano on the outside of him, and who's behind him? 11th, the Dirty Den, Denny Hamlin. I always have to think Dirty Den, Hamlin behind him. So, and they're 2 of the most notorious dirty. And we've talked about this before, Dirty
Many
Den,
times.
and they're always give them a nudge into the last lap to take a win, a little push to pass, as they call it. They're infamous for both doing that to others. But anyway, so Dylan didn't make a very good restart. And he's now about 4 car lengths behind going into the last corner after a lap and a half. And he just didn't slow down. So he took out Logano, sends Logano. He got away with it as well. Because
he did get away with it.
Yeah. So he sends Logano up high to slam into the wall. And then on the inside, Denny Hamlin's now got the lead. So he's gone past. But as he's going by, there was just enough time for him to come down the track again and just turn him around in a perfect, what do they call that turn when they do it, the police do a tap turn? Oh, no, yeah. It's the something turn, isn't it? Yeah. To get rid of it. Slams Denny Hamlin into the wall. He's now back in the lead. He's had a bit of a push and a shove from the 45 before he got to, so he wins the race. And everyone's happy. They're all going mental. He's now in the playoffs. And of course, Joey Logano, I think he came out with chicken shit driving, all sorts of piece of crap driving. But of course, you can tell.
He would have done this. He would have done this.
Well, I know. No, not from that far back. So this is Joey Lowe's thing. Yeah, I'm all for a bit of bumper passing, but he came from 4 car lengths behind me. He wasn't even going to make the corner, which I don't know. He might have made the corner. He didn't look like he was too much out of control when he tapped in. But I personally was actually delighted that 2 of my least liked NASCAR drivers were both taken into the wall and lost the race.
I wonder what their reflection will be now, because when you're hot-headed and you just lost, that happens to you.
No, they'll carry it forward because they both said, of course, he may be in the playoffs, but he ain't going to get through.
What goes around comes around.
What goes around. I mean, Hamlin was the most sort of holding himself back. He knows he's got this reputation. So he sort of said, I suppose basically they're trying to say, where's the line? 4 car lengths, that wasn't a nudge and a go, touch and go. He wasn't there. It was a complete ram raid, yeah. And he says that, and it's a bit like, in fact, I've talked about in Formula One, ever since, I hate to say, Ayrton Senna started, pushing people into the edge, using your car.
Block passing.
All the Formula 4 drivers started moving on the straights because that's what Ayrton Senna did, If you don't go for a gap, you ain't a racing driver. You're going to get, oh no, don't tell all the children that. And he actually said that's happening now in the lower levels, Denny was saying, because he obviously knows he does it himself. And he was just saying, where's the line? And he called it, which was quite nice, an invisible line between, what's okay to do and what's outrageous. So he was saying, well, this was outrageous. If you let that go, then all the kids in the Infinity and the lower ARCA levels and round little tiny ovals all over America, they've seen the hero do it. So it was a good comment that Hamlin made. Hamlin didn't go crazy about it. He just said, it was a bit beyond the line. Whereas,
fair enough.
It was entertaining, but only after three hours or so of processional stuff. I mean, it's always intrigue. You follow the cars up and down the leaderboard. You see what people are doing with different tyre strategies. Made it exciting. So
did it really, or was it just?
My fast forward button was fairly 6 o'clock this morning when I got up to watch it. I did have quite a lot of times 30 going on. But it was predicted to be a race like that, but it just ended in one of the most controversial finishes for quite some time. So that was our world of motorsport, and there's not much coming next weekend, really. In fact, it's all in America. We have nothing in Europe. Aussie Supercars go to Tasmania, Tassie. So Aussie, I'd love them. That's a great track at Tasmania, and Aussie Supercars, I'm sure, will entertain around there. So NASCAR go off to a 2 mile oval. They go off to, where is it? They're written it down. So Madison, no, not Madison. That's the IndyCars. Michigan, the Michigan 2 mile. So that should be good with just 3 rounds to go before the points are settled and who gets to the playoffs is done. IndyCars go to what's now called Madison, but was Gateway and was something else. Anyway, it's Illinois, 1.25 mile egg shape. They like it. It's a nice, fun oval. Well, of course, NXT are there. Louis Foster looking to
so when you say egg, when you say egg shape oval, so it's narrower at one end than it is the other.
Yeah.
Oh,
so,
wow, okay.
I think it's got different banking as well. So a lot of
super speedways. Weird. That must be weird to drive.
So Louis Foster, the British driver, looking to really tie up the championship. He's really dominated this year. And Jamie Chadwick, it was great news that she's going to get an IndyCar test with Andretti. And it's a bit upsetting with Louis Foster in a way. They're both in the Andretti team. Louis Foster's winning all the races. They didn't mention giving him a test, but Jamie, of course, has got the sponsorship behind her and the momentum to have a test. And it's great for her to get that test. It's a real tough test to have going up to an IndyCar. So good luck to both of them in the NXT race. And the only other is MotoGP, who are also over in America, Austin, Texas. So that should be a good race. So lots of motorsport. And so that'll all be on Sunday evening. That's the trouble. Have to record all 3. They'll be going on at the same time.
So what rallying have you ever done? Have you ever done a race or you just filmed it for TV?
What?
Rallying.
What rally have I done?
Yeah.
What? 2 Rally GBs, finished both of them. 1 Rally Scotland.
Did you get on
1
the podium?
Rally Cornwall.
Did you get on the podium?
Well,
did you get on the podium?
What, you finished 3rd, was it, in your first rally? 3rd, was it? Only 3rd.
No, sorry.
I think I won my first rally, the Rally Cornwall. We totally made a 1-mate championship for
Cornwall. That must be
we were in
that.
we were in Escort RS 2000. What was that model? The RS 2000.
Yeah.
1-mate championship. A couple of young whiz kids, but me and Tony Mason, we won the Cornwall Rally.
Oh, well done.
Yes, I've done 2 Rally GPs, 1 Rally Scotland. And I did a rally with a Daihatsu Charade, a 4x4 fun. That was really good fun, actually, because it wasn't too powerful. So I didn't go too fast.
With your car control. You need a lot of control, don't you? You need to read the... Yeah, it is a lot of fun. Thanks for joining. We'll see you next week.
You better sign the fence behind you, the Reykjavik. Put a bit of on the back. Put Paul Woodman was here, 3rd in class, rally.
I'm going to show our viewers where I am. So you
in the toilet, to recognise they're walking past you. That's a nice little corner you've got. All right, see you next week. Cheers.